Hello, and welcome to my newest obsession. I would like today to talk about a film from 1981, or 82, depending on what internet site you're looking at, called Incubus, or The Incubus, depending on what internet site you're looking at. I'm going to call it Incubus from 1981. It is a Canadian film that was released originally in Canada in 1981 and had a United States release in 1982, so I think that's why it's just often labeled as 1982. It is based on a novel of the same name by Ray Russell. I believe the novel was released in 1976. I've not read the novel, though I did listen to a podcast about people reviewing the novel, and it seems like it's just as weird as the movie, because, this movie, it seems straightforward, but if you actually think about it for even a minute, what? It's insane. It is, I can't even, this is not a review, this is not a plot summary, I will be spoiling the whole thing. This is just me trying to work through the movie. It's directed by John Hughes, not to be confused with John Hughes. It was written by George Franklin. I don't know who either of these people are. The tagline, I think, is why it's generally mislabeled as The Incubus rather than just Incubus. So, the dream, the nightmares, the desires, the fears, the mystery, the revelation, the warning. He is the destroyer, the Incubus. The film stars John Cassavetes. He's definitely like the most notable actor here as Sam Cordell, Dr. Sam Cordell. I'm going to call him Dr. Sam. John Ireland as the sheriff, Carrie Kane as Laura Kincaid, Helen Hughes as Agatha Galen, Erin Noble as Jenny Cordell, and Duncan McIntosh as Tim Galen. So what is this movie? Just really briefly before I expand I'll try to anyway. Again, spoilers. So this is about a demon with a giant panini going around grape juicing women, trying to get them pregnant, but is so endowed it's rupturing their uterus. Also, this is apparently it's rated R, but for this YouTube video, not for kids. There's a teen boy dreaming about the murders, and his girlfriend's creepy doctor father slaps him around and then abducts him, and even more chaos ensues. That is the general plot of the movie. I keep trying to get people to watch it, and for some reason, no one wants to. So I'm here to talk about it. The film is set in a small New England town called Galen. There are a lot of really fun bumper stickers. I really love the attention to that little detail. And the film opens on a zoom in of Dr. Sam Cordell's eye, which is exactly how the film ends. It's actually a reverse of the same shot. Our opening scene is I'm going to call it the saga of Roy and Mandy. So we have a woman sunbathing in a kind of peach bikini. I'll be honest, it was not the most nice looking film restoration, and I honestly just thought that she was nude at first. A guy tries to get something going on and she rejects him, so he calls her a bitch. Then he goes to dive. They're at a quarry. He goes to dive off like an area into the water and yells bitch as he's going into the water. So that's lovely. And then a monster attacks them. So kill count. Roy is dead and Mandy Paulman has been assaulted but survives and is in the hospital. Then we do get scenes with a teen boy and his weird dreams, but I'll talk about that later. So then we get Sam Cordell, who is a medical doctor. He's a surgeon and apparently a jack of all trades because he does a lot of jobs in this town. He lives with his teenage daughter, Jenny. They moved to Galen about a year ago. He's kind of worried about the gossip in town. It's giving Humbert because he's really perving on his 18-year-old daughter. Like, he watches her. She's introduced to the film coming out of the shower, completely nude. Her reflection coming out of the shower is in a mirror that her father is looking at, and like way too long. And then he kind of like shakes his head and walks away, but not like shakes his head like, I don't know, like disapprovingly, but more like trying to like snap himself out of something. It was very strange. He leers at her a lot. There's a lot of like long looks, mouth kisses, caresses, face touches. They eat breakfast in bed together. I mean, there's just a lot of weird, it's very creepy. He refers to her as the woman he lives with and his queen, his morning. It's very someone should call child services. Anyway, yeah, so the creepy doctor father is a little worried about town gossip. And yeah, he definitely doesn't want his own kid, except also he does. But anyway, he gets a phone call about the attack, so he goes to the hospital. Meanwhile, his daughter Jenny likes a boy, Tim Galen. Remember the town is Galen? Yeah, so his grandmother and his family are like the founding family of the town, I guess. So Tim has some sort of like dreams. The 80s and dreams, they were still very into Freud back in these days, I guess. So he's dreaming about a woman on this kind of wooden board who's being kind of like sprawled out and tortured by a group of men dressed like, his description is they're dressed like monks, and they're saying confess, confess, confess. And there's another man looking over a book reading, and she's screaming. Yeah, so Tim is a teen, lives with his grandmother, Agatha Galen. And it turns out every time Tim dreams this dream, the incubus attacks someone. That's going to be the whole thing. And Tim's having a real bad time. Enter Laura Kincaid. So she bought this local newspaper, The Signal, about 2 weeks ago with the money that she inherited from the death of her foster parents. This is important. I don't know if you've ever seen a horror movie, but if someone's an orphan, they're evil, which is a horrible trope that needs to die. Anyways, so Lauren Kincaid looks exactly like Sam's ex, Julie. I guess more on that later, but so Jenny is reading the newspaper to him while they're in bed together, because that's a thing that fathers and daughters do, I guess. And she's talking to him about Laura Kincaid and remarks that she reminds her of Julie. And later, this is much later, he'll even say, you don't just look like her, you are her, or something like that. He specifically says you are her, and later shows her pictures, and they're clearly the same actress. And he has like flashbacks and dream sequences of Julie, dead, more on that later, that are clearly, again, the same actress. For reasons literally unknown, we'll get more to that. I'm not telling this in order, but honestly, even if I did, it wouldn't make sense. It's insane. So meanwhile, back in the plot, Chief Hank Walden is investigating the grape juice murders with Dr. Sam, who is apparently also an investigator in this town, on top of his surgeon duties, which makes sense. So we get a lot of really terrifying lines. Like, they say, I don't know, grape 15 times, semen once, sperm 12 times. Of those 12, John Cassavetes says it 9 times. Hysterectomy once, dry intercourse twice, real intercourse once, ruptured uterus 4 times, and complete intercourse once. It's wild. So speaking of grape juicing, we get a scene at the Galen Museum Library. It's a museum and a library. This is one building that is a museum library. And it's there's a replica of the scene that Tim keeps dreaming about. The, I guess, curator or librarian, I don't know, the woman who works there, Carolyn Davies, is killed by the incubus. And there's a lot of like weird slow motion scenes. I mean, there's some like kind of cool shots. And she ends up on the like the wooden board next to the dummy of the woman being tortured. So essentially, it's kind of reenacting Tim's dream without the, monks telling her to confess anything. It'd be weird if a demon killed you and told you to confess. It seems like the opposite of what demons do. But I don't know. I've never met a demon. Anyway, so Laura and Hank and Dr. Sam are all there investigating, as they do. Hank kicks Laura out of the museum after telling her off for using people's tragedies to sell papers, which honestly, totally agree with. And Dr. Sam goes out to kind of have a moment with her and talk to her. And it's really strange. He's doing the weird long gazes. I mean, I guess he's doing them more with her because, as we learn, she looks exactly like Julie, his ex. But also, the dude just leers a lot. I don't understand the framing of John Cassavetes in this film at all. The cinematography is wild. Like, there are scenes that, some of the kill scenes look so amazing. Like, the way they're shot, not necessarily the way that they're executed, but the way they're shot looks really cool and is very unique. And they've done some things that, I mean, I've seen 1,000 horror movies and they did some things and I'm like, I've never seen anything that looks like this. So I'm assuming it comes out of like novice rather than ingenuity. And Laura, however, starts kind of crying and saying, I don't like to be berated by Hank or anyone. She's like really emotional. She's kind of all over the place. She's kind of whiplash. And then he tries to offer to drive her home. So I comfort her and she says, I don't want tenderness. And she goes into her car and cries, which I don't understand. And I guess we'll get to that in a moment why I don't understand that. But hint, it doesn't make sense for her to do this. Dr. Sam is with a nurse and Mandy, and I really couldn't if I tried oversell you on how creepy this man is, especially to this poor little victim of a grape juicing. He's also doing autopsies on top of being a surgeon. It's just very strange. Anyway, Jenny shows up because she doesn't want to be alone and she wants to spend time with her father, and she's talking to her father while he's examining semen from these grape juice murders about her boyfriend Tim. It's very weird. Dr. Sam drives Julie home, and then we get just like, I don't know. We get this scene wherein there's this whole subplot that the Dr. Sam's wife, Julie's mother, has passed away. And about 2 years later, he says he's going crazy. I have the whole quote. So, I loved your mother. 2 years after she died, I was going crazy. I started dating an 18-year-old, Julie. I forgot about everything, but she was never comfortable with me, not for 1 second. Because you were a doctor with a child. How old were you? You were probably in your 30s, and she's 18. I'm uncomfortable with you. She was having affairs. An 18-year-old's not having affairs. She's 18. Oh my God. So I knew that. I caught her with some guy. I had a tremendous fight. She managed to get out of there. That's an interesting choice of words. And by interesting, I mean terrifying. I went after her. Felt very guilty about that. So we keep seeing like cuts to her on the road bleeding and him standing over her. Again, she is Julie, and Laura Kincaid are played by the same actress. So yeah, Sam apparently led to her death, which he's just randomly telling his 18-year-old daughter about. And he keeps, again, like dreaming about her and seeing Julie as Laura. So I don't know, does he see Julie as Laura? Like he's supplanting her face into the memory? Or, spoilers, Laura Kincaid is the Incubus. Did she take Julie's shape? Or has she been Julie and she didn't actually die? I don't know. I'm so confused. And they don't explain it at all throughout the movie, ever. It's very random. It doesn't make sense. Why would you do this? Why would you do this? Dr. Sam may potentially also be a killer also. I don't know what the movie intends for him to be, a red herring, but he's the creepiest person. he's legitimately one of the creepiest people I've ever seen in a movie. Like, what? He's more creepy than a harbinger of death. What is going on with this man? And the sad part is, I really just don't think that was intentional. I think they thought that was normal. He's supposed to be the hero of the story. He's not. Oh dear God, what is happening? So yeah, Laura ends up printing something in the signal, and Dr. Sam goes over there to talk to her about it because he's kind of upset. And they end up going to a bar, and then they go back to his place. That's where we get more of the, realization that she looks identical to Julie. They end up kissing, but she kind of pulls back. And I wonder what that was about. I really just don't get it. This movie almost could be a trans allegory. But if it was, it'd be very negative. Although it was the 80s, so it would be right on par for that time period. Have we come far? Actually asking. I feel like no. Anyway, back to Tim. He's going through the castle that is his home, and he tells his Grammy Agatha that his dreams are causing the murders and he can't stop or control them. What he says specifically is, I've lived before in different lives, in different forms. I think my past has something to do with the murders. He's just really losing his mind. He's having these really terrible headaches. He's feeling very sick. He's sweating profusely. He's afraid to sleep, so he's just really sleep deprived. He looks like he's come right out of Elm Street, like the boy's a mess. We get our next kill scenes. We're at a family home with a father, a daughter Jane, and a daughter Anita. Jane is in the shower, and Anita utilizes a wheelchair. We get a dog death. The father dies, and the dad's death is pretty wild. Like, a shovel goes halfway into his neck. He's like gushing blood, and he has a gun in his hand. So when the shovel went into his neck, the power of it caused him to lower the gun and pull the trigger, and he blows like half of his foot off. Although they didn't film the result of that very well, because he's being dragged away and they show the foot, but it's clearly they just like painted it really dark, and like you can still see the toes even though nothing should be there. It's kind of funny, but like it looks good when they did the actual shooting effect. And we get this like great under the door shot. So we have Jane in the shower, this really great song is playing, and she's killed. So she's like screaming and blood starts coming out from under the doorway. And Anita, again in the wheelchair, they affix the camera to the bottom of the wheelchair. So we have a tracking shot of Anita going to see Jane in the shower, and we pull up and we just get this look under the door to see the body. It's really impressive. I really like that shot, and I really like that song. And then the door blows off its hinges, and we find out later that Anita was also killed. So this whole family is dead. Also, the dog died. Did I mention that? I found it very upsetting. Poor dogs. Dogs never deserve to die. We also get an outsider, Drevis. He shows up to aid in the investigation, and whereas Dr. Sam kind of at this point believes it can only be one man attacking all these women because of what this demon looks like. For some reason that pisses off Davies, Drevis. We end up seeing that Drevis is really like focused on solving these crimes, and for whatever reason they make it come off like he's a bad guy, but he's just being really realistic, especially as Dr. Sam gets more and more convinced this is paranormal. I mean, obviously the film shows it is paranormal, but like I don't think you should fault someone for not thinking like dreams have anything to do with the murders. Like that doesn't make him a bad person. I don't know. Movies. We cut back to Tim, who's now wandering around downtown in an alley. It's like really gross. He's all fevered and sleep deprived. It's sad. Laura sees him and asks if he's all right. I don't know if Laura knows who Tim is and about the dreams he's having. I didn't get, because it doesn't seem like he knows her at first. They go really back and forth on what these dreams are. Like, I feel like there's not a lot of continuity in it, even within like a 90-something minute movie. It's pretty ridiculous. So anyway, he runs into a movie theater, and we get a close-up of him backed up against the poster. A movie poster is a Rocky Horror Picture Show. So maybe this was supposed to be a trans allegory. I feel like no, because if it was, again, a real negative one. And we'll talk about that now. Okay, so I did look this up because this scene looks like an entirely different movie, and it turns out it's actual archival footage interspliced with these kids in a movie theater in like seats just like looking like they're watching something, but what it's cut into is like a performance of a band called Samson. Oh shoot, I looked this up. Where's the guy's name? Samson. They're performing a song called Vice Versa. Oh, and featuring future Iron Maiden vocalist Bruce Dickinson. And the song's pretty cool. I like the other song better, but this one's pretty nice too. The footage looks amazing, and it doesn't fit in with this movie at all because it wasn't supposed to. So the Incubus finds this girl in a bathroom and murders her, which that's why I keep referencing it as a trans allegory, because this scene right here, and it's made specific in the book, I know that, so that the Incubus is like utilizing this situation to infiltrate female spaces, which is like a conservative's wet dream. This is like what every TERF talks about. It's really gross and ridiculous. And it's sad because this girl dies, and they have a chalk outline that is so disturbing. And Laura shows up again, apologizes to Hank, and offers to help. Hank leaves. He's just like really disgusted with all this because, I mean, it's a small town, and he's known all of these teenagers who have been grape juiced and murdered. And it's like really sad. I feel bad for him. Like this is worse than anything he's worked on, or is it? It honestly doesn't make any sense why Laura will tell Sam about the crimes from 30 years ago. Again, considering spoilers, she's the Incubus. So like, why is she telling him about this? Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Maybe she's trying to like get him to believe that it's someone, the same person from 30 years ago, I'm assuming. So that would lead him off of her trail, but also she's a her, right? So he probably wouldn't think the person going around grape juicing women so roughly that a rupturing uteruses would be, a chick. But whatever. Moving on. Back to Tim. Oh jeez, Tim. He goes to Jenny and tells her he thinks he's the killer, kind of. So what he says is, "It hurts, my head hurts, it's a nightmare, the same nightmare over and over. And every time I have the dream, someone dies. Roy Seal, Carolyn Davies, it's every time I have the dream. Oh, I think I'm going crazy. I killed those people." I took out her lines, and that's just what he says. So he's started kind of lucid dreaming now because he's so avoiding sleep, and he's just like really confused and in a lot of pain because he's having migraines. I have migraines when I don't sleep too. He goes back home to the castle and his worried grandmother Agatha and says, "I've got to stay awake. I'm tired, but I mustn't sleep because if I do, she will die." He's right. The girl in the cellar, the girl who screams, she keeps looking towards the door. Someone's trying to get in, and I have to stay awake to save her. So we know Agatha definitely knows more than she's telling Tim. And she keeps trying to tell him and keeps getting interrupted. But she does... I'll explain why she got interrupted in a second. She says, "I love you. You're normal. There is nothing wrong with you." So why she got interrupted. Jenny goes and tells her father, Dr. Sam, about what Tim told her. So then he, Jenny, and Laura Kincaid all go over to the Galen's house. He runs upstairs, goes into the house without anything, just goes into the house because he's not a cop, but also he's investigating. But he's also the county mortician, apparently, as well as a surgeon. What can't he do? He runs upstairs past Agatha, goes up to Tim's room, and he starts slapping him around and covering his face to make him wake up. I was poor kid. He did not deserve this. And Tim sees Laura and remarks, "You're the one in my dreams." Hint, hint. They take Tim to the hospital and run tests for legal purposes to show that he's innocent, but Dr. Sam is not giving up. Drevis is here on the side of science. Dr. Sam's over here on dream nonsense, which causes Drevis to ask, "What kind of quack are you?" And I'm on Drevis' side, honestly. Dr. Sam and Hank go talk to Mandy again, where Mandy says it wasn't multiple people who assaulted her. It was just one person, a monster. He goes, Dr. Sam is not giving up on Tim, and he says, in referencing to Tim, has just now admitted that his dreams are causing these murders. Sir. Sir? Sir. What? He is innocent. Agatha, Granny, you need to call a lawyer. You're rich. Like, call an attorney. Call Drevis back. Anything. Anyway, pretty sure Tim just has like an anxiety attack, and all these adult men are taking it as a sign of guilt, which is just wild. Probably kind of realistic too. Anyway, so while Tim is, I don't know, like having a seizure or something, Mandy screams and falls out of bed, and for whatever reason, everyone keeps referencing as like her attempting to take her own life. Just like, the script and what they show us visually did not align. It really just looked like she fell out of bed. But anyway, everyone's just still out here blaming poor Tim. It's fine. It's not fine. It's heartbreaking. It's Dr. Sam, Ginny, Laura, Hank, and Agatha with poor Tim, poor sick Tim, as a hostage. I'll go to the library/torture museum, which Tim doesn't even recognize as being the image from his dream, which I don't know why, but whatever. That's a little bit annoying. Laura reads from a book about the creature that they're dealing with. Again, why? Because she is the creature. Does she not know she's the creature? It's very, very confusing. So, metamorphs, shape changers. They can control their size, toughen their skin texture, take on new muscle tone, and strength. It has a human form. It is among us and survives by appearing human. It materializes through dreams and nightmares. Charles René Bulaire, 18th century. In a description of an incubus, he wrote, "This demonic spirit can also serve both men and women. Incubi were driven by the desire to procreate and were known to copulate and impregnate women." I would like to mention that there is a difference between incubi and succubi. Succubus are chicks, incubi are dudes, but apparently incubi are now, in this lore, that's fine, as long as you explain your lore. In this lore, incubi could be men or women. They can take whichever form they want, and they're shapeshifters. So then why did Laura take Julie's shape? I need an answer. Hank's remark is, "I can believe Tim's dreams have a connection. Precognition, clairvoyance. But you're talking about actual materialization. Sam, that's bullshit." Like, Hank was so on board until you got to, he's materializing a demon. Come on now. So Hank leaves to go back to investigate, like real life stuff, while Agatha threatened him essentially, and then gives Tim a knife in secret. It's a whole hullabaloo. But I just feel like Laura, it doesn't make sense that Laura is the one to tell them all this information about the incubi. It should have been Agatha, and it doesn't make sense for her to tell her that these same crimes happened 30 years ago. It should have been Hank, who was a cop 30 years ago, and probably would have been around and remembered. But whatever, moving on, I guess. Dr. Sam has the weirdest line when Hank leaves. He tells Hank that he better have all his men out tonight, because he's going to induce a dream in Tim, and I swear to God, there's going to be another grape tonight. What? Sir. What? Sir. Agatha goes back home and reads a page on her, I don't know, witchy book about incubi as women. It may change its bodily form and seem to be what it is not, and it may dwell among men in human shape, and none shall know it for an incubus. So Laura might not know she's an incubus, I guess. I don't know. I'm very confused. So then, the four remaining characters go back to Dr. Sam's. Laura and Ginny go upstairs so Dr. Sam can hypnotize Tim into having a nightmare. A lot of dialogue and retcons go on at this moment. Now Tim, I don't know. Now Tim says, instead of the monks telling the woman to confess, they're telling the dream woman, tell me, or asking the dream, or demanding the dream woman, tell me. I don't know why they changed that, but okay. We didn't see that. And now he also apparently knows that the woman in his dreams is his mother. compared to he didn't know who she was, which is also very weird. I don't know why. And he wants to see the people punished versus he's so like strung out on trying to remain awake so they can save people. Now he wants to punish people. I don't know. It's just like a real 180. Okay. All right. So here's the gist. Tim's mom is the woman he's dreaming about. She's being interrogated by the Galens, who were witch hunters. 30 years ago, this is when this was happening, 30 years ago, an incubus breaks down the door, kills the men torturing her, and I don't know, they have intercourse. I don't know if it's forced or consensual. And apparently she got pregnant, and that is the result of that pregnancy is Laura Kincaid. Then apparently, I guess Tim is probably the same age as Julie, so about 18. He's definitely not 30. Apparently at some point, Tim's mom got pregnant with Tim, was again abducted by the Galens, and the Galens killed her, but Agatha saved Tim. Is that right? I don't know. I don't understand. They should have just had Laura be Tim's parent. That just would have made more sense. So I'm assuming the original Incubus from 30 years ago, yeah, is like Laura's parent. Maybe? I still don't know why she looks like Julie. I don't know. This is all very confusing. So anyway, then when Tim is dreaming, he sees that the woman lying down is like being told to confess by the Galens, the monks, is Jenny. So Tim, realizing Jenny is in trouble, grabs the knife and runs upstairs to confront Laura. He calls Laura his sister and attacks her, but Dr. Sam tackles him, not knowing what's happening, and Tim is stabbed by the dagger and dies. Then Dr. Sam and Laura embrace, where we intercut and see scenes of her, Laura, and the incubus. And Dr. Sam sees on the bed Ginny has been very brutally attacked and is dead, which would make our kill count 7 and our grape juice count 5. And we close out, like I said, the way we opened, which is on a close-up of Sam's eye, and I'm confused. I'm so confused. Baffled, really, by this entire film. I don't get it. Well, it's just so... I guess they're trying to have a mystery, but they overdid it. They have all these subplots that are not fully resolved. And I just have so many questions. Like, I feel like there's a lot there, and it could be so interesting if they just tightened up the script. Sometimes being beholden to a book isn't the best option. Sometimes it's better to mix it up a little bit, tighten things up a little bit, so they play on screen a little better. Because I think in the book also, it's from, like, first-person point of view. So, like, we're hearing, like, people narrate sections of the book, compared to here where obviously you're not doing that. You cannot do that as effectively in a film. You just really can't. So yeah, I don't know. This movie's strange, but also I love it. I watched it 5 times in 2 months. Like, I'm ridiculous. Like, I can't get over it. It's just, I just keep needing to come back and every time I do, I see something different, and it's just, I just want to figure it out. I feel like if I just keep watching it, I'll crack the code. But also I feel the same way about Kroll, and I've seen that movie like 5 times too, and I still don't know what the fuck was going on, so I don't know. So anyway, yeah, thank you for watching. If you noticed something about the movie that I didn't, please tell me. If you have any background knowledge, if you've read the book, let me know. I just needed to talk about this movie, and I think I said at the beginning, I can't get anyone to watch it with me. So yeah. Bye.